Hello and welcome. My name is Marilu and you're listening to the Hera Hotspot podcast, which is all about well-being for women both at home and at work. As part of my recent shows introducing June Barclay, this podcast feels that it's just for our wonderful meditation group as we explore the power of the group, what that looks like now and how it and its members have grown. We also explore other faiths and how what we offer has so much more depth and creates an environment for individual spiritual growth within a supportive, loving and non-judgemental space. I read some passages from a book that I've been reading, The Feminine Face of God, which I feel reflect the energy of our own healing group. You will hear June receive a message from El Maria to rename the group The Temple Path, and how it is about honouring our own inner temple. How he needs June to show more people the way of spirit, how they can work through them and with them. It's a defining moment, and I'm thrilled to be able to share it with you. So the whole of this book is about how, I'm not going to put it very well, but how religion is very male, the words are male.
Yeah.
We've all been taught but in the kind of the male way to do it. And it's about women exploring their femininity and their relationship with spirit in their own way, kind of stepping out of those archetypal things that were set up. And it really reminded me of how, or it put into words how I felt about our group. But more than, I hadn't realised I'd felt this, if that makes sense. So frequently, it is not a sacred gathered place that was longed for, but a circle, a council, a society of women which had formed in some ancient time and continued into the present age, carrying an unbroken female lineage. And then someone was commenting on it. This is exactly why I need this group. And everyone, and the people they spoke to had their own female circles. This is exactly why I need this group, because you help me to recognise the value of my own experience of the sacred. Without it, I'd ride roughshod over it, ignoring my own feelings and intuitions whenever they don't fit with what the priests or lamas or holy books say. And I thought that was really, it was just being validated, rather than just going, oh, don't be ridiculous. Yeah. But to have other people honour what you say. Because you are all with me, even when we're apart, I pray for you in the mornings, and I remember how much each of you tries to be true to yourself. I take refuge in you. You help me find the courage to be faithful to what's emerging through my own life. And that was all after Bronwyn put that up.
Yeah, and all the lights have just flashed.
So it's saying a circle of women can provide a container for emergence in a way that a woman alone or even a one-to-one relationship cannot. Intimate relationships and even friendships can break or at least be greatly strained by life changes. But from the combined wisdom and energy of a small group of women who are committed to hearing each other in speech, continuity and trust can develop that can be relied on over the long term. And witnessing each person's direct knowing of her truth, we can be empowered to live our own. Isn't it? I just thought that was so beautiful.
So on the money.
I know.
I couldn't have put it into words like that.
And it really was. We know, we've always talked about how much the group means to us. And when we sit, how we're not in each other's lives, but how we...
there is a connection.
We just sit and we're able to be vulnerable and honest and hold space for each other with no judgment, with no, or what you need to do.
And that's what's special about that. And even Bridget picked up on that, didn't she, last week? Because everybody fell apart the first time. And it was less falling apart this time for the main group people. That's what I picked up on it. But for some reason I had to do that again. But
it was so beautiful when Bronwyn was crying and you said, let it cry. And I just sat there and I was just sending her love. And it was a bit like when Bridget did it, it was a real privilege to witness that.
It is.
And when we've been physically together, to witness someone's growth or humility or vulnerability or being touched by spirit in that way, it's such an honour.
It is.
It's so beautiful.
Because that's their growth.
Yeah. It is. And you're watching someone grow and you think, my God, I'm so humbled by being in the presence of this wondrous thing.
They've done it, haven't they? I said meditation, and we're talking about that one.
I know, which is why I thought, actually, but it's more than just how does one meditate.
Yeah.
For me, it's about the meditation group.
Yeah.
So I've got one more, or a couple more. Repeatedly, we found that until a woman becomes interested in what is real and true in her own particular life, until she wants personally to taste and know how good the Lord is, she can pray and practice and perform rituals with great sincerity and discipline without ever coming to the reality beneath its forms. So you can go through all the motions and do all this, but until you actually sit with what is real and true in your life, that's kind of the core of the spirituality. It's not about externalizing it.
No. It's about
the mantras that everyone else does, or the hymns, or
it's your stuff.
It's your own personal connection, which is why we've said before that your meditation or your church can be painting or being in nature. It's the connection. We've always, in religion, it's about you need to be here in order to worship that person over there and be surrounded by other people, to show up, to be accountable. It's all externalizing it.
Yeah.
Whereas if your own connection is enough,
is about your stuff. You are your church. God is in all of us. You don't have to go to church to meet God. Because we are
and it's that
God.
thing about God is inside you.
Yeah.
Which is such a huge concept. It's like when I said namaste to Bronwyn the other day. It is the God inside me honours the God inside you.
When you put that, I thought, it's so spot on. That was so spot on.
But it's about that recognition that we have that in us. And that's a biggie.
It is a biggie.
And it's tough to go. And it's that thing of, however you read it from different things, a spark of God, a light of God is in you. You were created from an essence of God. However you want to metaphorically put that. But it's I am honoured to be part of that journey.
And me, even, and I've said this always to everybody, just because I sit in that chair, I'm not above you or anything more. I'm doing the journey the same as all of you. I'm just happen to be the one they give me the job to do it. I think that's what they did it for. But those results.
And that's just by through your meditation and someone doing their work and being brave enough to do the work and not be fearful and go, actually, I'm going to sit with this.
Courage, again, does that take?
But then I think that courage, going back to the, where is it? I remember how much each of you tries to be true to yourself. I take refuge in you. You help me find the courage to be faithful to what's emerging through my own life.
Yeah.
So by witnessing other people's journey, it then makes you okay to do your own.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that reflection, or is it validation, or even just witnessing, you then have, without you, I'd ride roughshod over it, ignoring my own feelings and intuitions whenever they don't fit with what others say.
Yeah. That is a safe space. Just knowing that, but, Bronwyn's never even sat in the room with us.
No.
She doesn't know how safe that space is. But she's felt it.
And I can't remember if it was me or Bridget or someone else who put on the chat. It really, it brought something so profound to the group.
It did.
And
that's why I asked her to write it. Because I know that other people needed to read that.
Yeah. I feel that what you have experienced has moved the group onto a higher level.
It definitely changed it. Changed the dynamic.
Really did. There's one last bit from the book. They talk about the sacred garden. Is there a sort of metaphor for being in not enlightened, but in a sort of spiritual space? Just as any plot of soil with seeds and sun and water can become a garden if there is a gardener, so can our lives come to spiritual maturity if we are willing to cultivate them. To cultivate in its root form means to inhabit, to dwell within. Learning how to live the dailiness of our lives while opening continually to the sacred space seems to take practice. Practice in opening, practice in listening, practice in waiting, practice also in obeying our inner direction. in speaking out when we are moved to do so, and in accepting responsibility and authority when we are called upon to be bold. And practice also means celebrating and expressing gratitude and making a joyful song unto the Lord. When we enter such practices wholeheartedly, we bring to life another root meaning of cultivate, to worship. And it's the opening, it's the listening, it's the waiting. It's not just going to church to give thanks. It's honouring that inner church.
Yeah.
By doing the work, by sitting quietly with it, by being bold, by being challenged.
Yeah.
And then being within the group that makes it safe to do so.
Yeah.
And that's, I didn't know if the group was going to become about that or about the book, or if it was one and the same.
I think it's one and the same.
Because having read that book,
don't you?
Well, I feel that, but I think I'm being quite influenced by that book.
Yeah.
The feminine face of God and people's experiences.
We've talked about this stuff over time. I don't even know how long you've come to group. Must be.
Honestly,
we don't know.
6 or 7 years, I can't remember.
But we must have touched on all this stuff through the years. I'm no good asking me because I don't know, but that's basically. I wouldn't have said it was always about the feminine, but it was always about you all finding your own spirituality that's inside you. That's what, for me, you're all like the locks and I've got the key. Does that make sense? That's the key that just switches it on. Let's see what that had to say about it. Is it you giving me that? But it is. What I was talking about just now was, it's very interesting because you come from a Catholic background. So the indoctrination of that would have been quite a big thing when you was young. And they were saying it all the time you was reading this to me. They was talking about the Catholic religion. So this is a real turnaround, a completely turning around and walking in the opposite direction with what you've been brought up with. Okay. They need us to talk about this because this is where some people are stuck because they're stuck in the religion. And if that's, I'm not knocking it, if that's where people find sanctuary and they find hope and they find something to make them or their life easier, 100% you've got to do it.
But really those are the only forms that were available. I mean, I remember doing, and I was, having been interested in all this stuff and raised as a Catholic and been to a couple of spiritual churches years ago, I wanted a way of not practicing my faith, because that sounds quite Catholic. I wanted a way of connecting with God that was new and fresh and different, but would give me a structure with which to do it. So I went to go and do an Alpha course with Gordy and it was the Baptist church in town. I can't remember how I knew about it, I just did. And it actually was quite interesting, but it became clear quite quickly that there was an agenda to the way it was being shared. I subsequently find out that the Catholic priests in Salcombe heard about it when that's not the way it's meant to be taught, because it was there was a bent to it. But I remember feeling that need to, well, if I can't find it there, and I was looking at Quakers, but I needed, I was going to say an outlet, but actually it was more of an anchor.
Yeah.
Or a platform from which to launch.
You needed a belonging.
Yes, yes. And I didn't know where to do that. So when you were saying that people, we need to talk about it because people have that religion, I think that's all people want. They want a belonging.
Yeah.
They want it. I think people like my mother, it was very much, she needed the identity, or she was really sort of dragged up in the Catholic faith. She was in a nunnery very young, or convent very young. That was her ritual. And she hung her hat on that. I don't think actually she felt it with her heart. She would never sing in church. She would never preach. She was silent the whole time. But some people do just want that belonging.
Yeah.
But what this says, that a circle of women can provide a container for emergence. So it's, for me, a container is where you're being held in order to make you feel safe, to then emerge, to then grow within that container.
Well, in that,
but the church, I don't think, does that.
No, it doesn't. Because who sits down with you and lets you cry and shout and rage?
You're just being dictated to about what God thinks.
Yeah, you're being told that if you don't act in a certain way, it's fire and brimstone. That's fear-based again. Whereas in the circle, like you're saying, in that being held in that cup, you can shout and holler, cry and scream. And nobody sits there and says, she lost the plot, or
there's no judgment.
There's no judgment at all, because we are all, in some degree, going through that, whatever that is.
And it's so personal and so individual, depending where you are in your growth, and depending what your wounds are, and what your journey is and what you need to heal. No one's going to play out the same way. And that's why, how can you fit that? It's like trying to fit loads of different shaped circles into the square hole of religion. You're never going to fit.
No.
You're never going to be totally accepted, because, and I remember being with the Catholic Church going, well, these are all the rules, and no abortion, and no murder, and no this, and no that, and no sex, and no actually sort of enjoying yourself. And I thought, well, some of them obviously you agree with, and some of them you don't, but it's kind of all or nothing. You're kind of committed. There was no, you can't pick and choose. You're not a proper Christian. And I'm thinking, well, I believe in God, am I a Christian? No, you're not a Christian unless you, okay, but Christians are really
they had the
very strict
of all that.
Oh yeah, with Catholic Church, that's just the rules, and there was no picking or choosing, which is, when I just sort of thought, when I was age, well, I don't agree with a lot of those, so I can't be a Catholic, because I'm not jumping through all the hoops you want me to jump through.
Yeah.
And actually, from my own experience, and it is quite a sweeping statement, I found that the people who identify that strongly with their church are actually some of the unkindest people I've met.
Yeah.
But they do it under the name of God, and I think that's wicked.
It is.
I remember reading when I've talked about this before in another podcast, on my faith podcast, when I went to go and talk to my Catholic priest when I was getting divorced, and I was getting a load of judgment from my mum, and I said, oh, she's telling me I have no right to happiness and everything. He was really shocked. And he said, you have every right to happiness. He actually said, do you mind if I have a cigarette? He was so shaken by saying, well, this is the woman I've been raised by. This is her version of Catholicism. Is she right that, what was the phrase? Your happiness is irrelevant. You have a duty and responsibility to your husband and your children. And then the weight of that under God was huge. And he said, no, if you aren't happy, you have every right to go. And it was like this weight being lifted off. And soon after that, I found the book, The Conversations with God, which by all accounts, it kind of finds you. It's sort of, again, dumped off the shelf at Waterstones. And my one revelation from that was God had a sense of humour. And the lightness of that, whether you believe the concept or not, even as a theological writing, the concept that God is light-hearted and non-judgemental and has a sense of humour was an absolute revelation to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel, and again, my particular experience is Catholicism, that is not taught in church. No. I don't know if it's taught in a Baptist church or an Anglican church or a Methodist church.
I went to Sunday school, and I used to, even as a child, I used to think, this is all, it made me feel like this is all made up. That's how it made me feel. I got absolutely nothing from it. Even as a little child. I'm not saying that's how everybody would feel. That's how it made me feel. And I expect part of my journey was actually losing God for a while when Stu died, because I blamed everybody that this is what, and that when you're that far down on your knees, you've got to come up and look for something else. And I knew I wasn't going to find it in the church. So maybe that was me thinking that when I was a child, sort of brought back when I lost Stu. Because I used to sit there and think, oh, I quite like the singing. And I'm with my mates, because everybody used to get sent to Sunday school. So and it was a child's thing, it wasn't an adult's thing. They didn't come with you. You was just sent to Sunday school.
I mean, even now if I go to church, Fagoda, so Daisy for Christmas. The only bit I really like is the singing.
Yeah.
It's that the energy of and the vibration of a room full of people singing. I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't get anything else from it at all. I find it very oppressive, very dark. He's a lovely priest, our local priest. He's not Catholic, but it doesn't feed my soul.
No,
like the meditation. It feels. It doesn't even feel like the same world as a meditation group.
Yeah.
It's like learning maths and art. I mean, they're just totally separate. How anyone can think they're the same. I mean, we're so blessed by it.
Maybe there's not enough time to touch everybody's soul for them because it's a mass, isn't it? There's a complete mass of people. And
but still, it's all under that banner of God.
And fear.
Well, yeah, I remember when my sister died, we were married by a priest in East Southampton. He's retired now. And I rang on him because I didn't know how else to ring, but I knew I had a grief and everything. And he was sweet and he came round, but I don't remember any part of the visit feeding my soul or anything. It was just God this and God that. But and he's lovely, and I see him now, and he's a really lovely person. And whether it didn't come from the heart or whether I don't know, but it didn't touch me in any way.
And maybe they've lost it because they think for them it's a job.
Yeah.
And not, I don't know if it was ever meant to be a calling for them. But in that it could lose its part, couldn't it? Like if you just class it as a job, it's not a passion anymore. No. Because you see so much grief perhaps in there, and it's just the words.
Well, it comes from a book. It's almost like a manual or an instruction booklet.
Yeah.
And the beauty of what we do in our group is, or even just us talking, is we explore with no boundaries.
Yeah.
There's no, we can't say that, or we should say that, or it must be like that. Everything we've talked about, from the orbs to the auras, it's that makes sense because that kind of fits, but it doesn't actually mean we're right. It's just our interpretation of it and what feels right to us.
Yeah.
If someone wants to see it another way, great.
That's up to them.
Yeah. If that
and if
makes sense
we could read all those books, all these people that write these books, we've all got a certain amount of the sameness in it. We all say it differently, and obviously I would say it differently because of my Cockney, whatever way I say things. I just love how much it all comes out the same. I love this bit. People are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and shine when the sun is out, but when the darkness sets in, their true beauty is revealed only if there is a light from within. And that's just lovely.
Yeah. There's loads about childhood. I'm trying to think, I've not written any of it down. About just so many stories about feeling the buoyancy and the love and the freedom, and then just being told it wasn't right. It reminded me when we were doing Inner Child last week. I might have to write some of it down. When we look into our childhood, we often find destiny there. The child has a vision, and our parents or society try to stamp it out, so the child has to go underground. Or as another woman told us, I know very early that the nature of reality was different from the story anybody had given me, but my mother had a scathing attitude toward religion and religious people. My father was really afraid of spiritual things, so I learned to suppress my mystical streak. For those women whose early experiences were not nurtured or reinforced by their parents, it was often years or even decades before some life crisis reawakened their childhood connection with the divine and led them through to the unknown remembered gate into their sacred garden.
Yeah, that's it. That's totally it. You could look at that another way. I'd look at it that maybe I'd have been quite happy jogging along in my little life if Stuart hadn't have died. And there was nothing wrong with that life. I knew about spirit. I knew about all what I got. And nobody disputed it. Not even me. I didn't argue the fact. But if that hadn't have been such a crisis, I wouldn't have got up off my knees and gone looking. I don't know why it has to take that. And is that everybody's is that the way everybody comes to it?
Do you think it's, I'm trying to think how that would relate to me getting divorced. And is it that letting go of the individuality. It's not the ego, but you have your life, you're a mother, and then your individual circumstance. And so it's combining that with a sense of belonging, but there's another word. So for me, it was the weight of that. I didn't want to feel so alone in that. I needed to feel connected, but it wasn't a human connection that I needed. But I was aware of the little flame.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you felt that of when Stuart died, if there was a piece of you that went, actually, that's the only piece that makes sense of me, and I need to make that grow bigger, or what did that look like?
I don't know if I actually felt that, what you're saying.
So what made you seek further?
The not understanding why Stu had to go home early, or the way he went. I don't know what that was. It was, I can't say I felt a flame. Maybe in those early stages, I did feel angry, and I did feel left alone. I wasn't, but I felt alone with it, with my own grief.
So what the other thing that you could tie together is obviously your grief, and my grief was a different grief. It was a letting go. Although it was my choice, it was still a grief. So maybe is it not feeling alone in that grief, or trying to make sense of that grief and understand it? That's
where I come from with it. I needed to make sense of the whole lot of it, all of it. And in that would have been the grief. The grief of having to let somebody go that you didn't, that's not the right way round. You don't bury your child before you, you know, they bury you. That's what we believe, isn't it?
But how would that relate to other people? So other people come to God, to source, not just when they lose a loved one. So mine was through divorce. So I'm trying to think what that common thread would be.
What the thread would be.
If someone is...
Well, it is a grief.
Maybe sometimes it's just illness, isn't it? It's
illness, yeah. It's still, that would still be a grief. It's all really, the word is the grief, isn't it? The main word. Because we're all grieving and losing. We've lost something. Like you would have lost a family that you thought was going to last forever. Like a husband and a wife, and bringing up the kids. That's a unit, isn't it? When we lost Stuart, that unit was broken, and there was he wasn't going to come back. There was nobody to fill that space. So maybe it was the loss of that space that made me go looking, because all that makes up part of our heart.
And then if you have an illness, and that's a loss of self, or loss of identity, or loss of part of yourself, part of your future, depending how long-standing the illness is. I'm trying to think of what another circumstance of that would...
If that was, just say it's cancer, that you have to have all that treatment to make, and you would look different. So that is losing the self again, isn't it? What you think you look like, what you would behave like.
And your future's going to look very different, because you're going to be very fearful, I can imagine, of it coming back.
Yeah.
So maybe it is that loss of trying to...
And maybe in the loss, if you're brave enough, you do go looking for the real person that you've come here to be. That's how I see it with me, with what happened with Stuart. There's no doubt about that for me. And I think about Emma Lane, because she had the cancer. She's come back a far stronger person by the way she talks about it.
I think we all have.
Yeah.
It definitely, I think for me, I was thinking of that loss, of it making sense. It gave me, I think, to when I started, and I was hiding in my bathroom with my soon-to-be ex-husband, sort of ranting, and that's when I would meditate. It was that grounding, it was that belonging, it was that tether to something that was not necessarily stronger than me, because it wasn't, but it was something that gave me strength. It was a...
Definitely.
It's like plugging into something.
Yeah, it is.
Literally plugging in, going. I'm lost. I'm like a hot air balloon that's been cut free, and I need a tether, but I need that. I will commit to the tether. I will give as much by plugging in and connecting to you as hopefully you will give back.
Yeah. It almost felt like that when I first met that lady, Pat. And we used to go every week to sit in her group, and it just felt that somebody had switched the light bulb on. The plug was plugged in. And some weeks it wasn't that good. But just by being in with those people, like-minded people, everybody was there for the same reason. And that was to build on that spirit that we didn't even realise was the biggest part of us. I'd say that spirit inside you that's longing to speak and longing to be out there doing what it needs to do. It's been shut away for so long.
So I felt, thinking where I am now and where I was then, and then meeting you, which is why I can never really remember meeting you, because it's like I've always wanted to know you and to know this and have this belonging and have this make sense. It was like, oh, there it is. So let's say, I don't know, it's probably 6-7 years. The feeling of loss, the filling it with that, and then going, well, I've got this now. I've got my crystals and I've got my meditation, but there was still a loneliness or an individuality about that. That you wanted to, it's like you were a little atom vibrating. You wanted to be with other atoms who were vibrating with the same energy. And that was the sadness for me until I came into the group, is I didn't have that. I didn't feel like I vibrated at the same level as other people. So I couldn't have those conversations. So I couldn't share or witness all the things that we do now. So, I know how lucky we are, and I know how much the group feeds us, and the more it's growing and the strength of it and how you facilitate that. And it makes me sad that I know there'll be other people out there who are this little vibrating atom who don't yet have that.
Yeah.
Because there aren't meditation groups around every corner.
No.
So what happens for them?
I think that's why the group's getting bigger. And I'm not sitting in this room with just the people that live locally. There's only a few, isn't there, that live locally now.
And yet the effect is as powerful, if not more powerful, than it has been.
It has. It's got more powerful by doing it the way.
A way where people don't believe that you can't possibly feel that energy via a Zoom or over a phone. And yet it's getting clearer and stronger.
Yeah, that's how it seems to me. For Bronwyn to have that reaction, I just found that mind-blowing. Because to be honest, I know that it is powerful. And when I sit down to do that on a Thursday night, I've got no idea what... They sort of give me a bit of an idea, but I don't know until I start talking really what it's going to be, because they take over. But that their essence must be felt that strong. It just blows me away, to be honest. And I think that...
But it's almost like we're meeting on a different plane. We know that people are miles away.
Yeah.
But as we've talked about before, we do healing, and the angels take that energy and use it to heal the world, or wherever we've sent it, or wherever they choose to take it.
Yeah.
It's like we're almost meeting on a different plane, and the miles don't matter.
No, it doesn't.
So we could have people in the group in America, and there's no difference between Petersfield or America.
I don't think it matters anymore. That's shown that up to me, that really... And the healing on the phone doesn't matter where you are, because that's strong as well. And maybe it's just, can I trust enough that the angels are wherever they're meant to be at that time of the healing? And maybe that's the same thing with the meditation. If only we could all be a fly on the wall, maybe there's this web-like connection from my guardian angel to everybody else's, wherever they are. And that's it. That's the web.
Can you ask Spirit, having read or half read this book, and how the energy is different for women? You know, we love men, and it's not an anti-male thing at all. But so reading Grandmother of Jesus at the moment and reading this, it does feel a very different energy and an expectation and an application of commitment and thought and practice that we bring. So is it important that the group is women, or is that the question? For Spirit, is there a difference in the power of there being the women in the group, that female energy?
Well, that's a yes. I'll ask first if they're happy for it to be just a female group. That's enough. Oops. All right. Would you be happy if it's a mixed group? Does it need to be a mixed group?
No.
So, male energy, if they come to the group, they're working on their feminine side.
Which is what I was just thinking, because really, if we're all spirit, if we're all a spark of God and sexless, you know, I'm aware that I have a stronger male energy than others. And it is about working on that feminine energy, but rather than coming in at it from a male energy, whether from my male energy or a man's male energy.
Yeah, the male. The point of all this meditation seems forever has been about the feminine being brought in to soften, to change the way we look at things, the way we do things, even for a male. That's a yes again. So they're not unhappy about having men in the group, as long as they're willing to work on their feminine side.
The feminine face of God, this is about the book, is an aspect of divinity and an approach to the sacred that is not exclusively of women, but women will naturally lead the way because women's receptivity, commitment to relationships and biological experience provide great opportunities for this kind of revelation. By themselves and in groups, women are exploring the spiritual dimensions of their lives, praying, meditating, creating ritual, and paying attention to their dreams, symbols, and metaphors. And for all those who are doing so, I have the impression that countless others yearn to and will read this book hungrily, taking the experiences of women like them as nourishment and encouragement. And it really is. It is the most nourishing book. It's extraordinary to read.
Okay. Okay. I want to say more about it. They're talking about the growth of the group. The worry is within the growth of the group that some people might get lost and not be able to talk their truth.
Okay.
Which I think we've picked up on before. So does that mean I have to deny some people?
More than one group?
Do we need more than one group? I just got not at the moment. Okay. That's interesting. I just got told that not everybody would attend at every time, all the time. So maybe that's the way it works with the what we've got now. Although I know there's more people want to come on board. I'm not sure how many.
I wonder if it's the same, because sometimes in the hut you could expect 10 and only have 8, and it's always very much people that came were relevant and either needed to hear what someone else was sharing or had a story to share.
I do think that's it. I think the relevance will be who turns up on, on the Zoom and not to put too much energy into that. If there's not many or more, there's obviously a reason why that is changes with the weeks. So is that a concern at the moment? Do I allow more people to attend? Yeah. So there are a few more people, and all I ever get back from Spirit about that is it's got to reach more people. So if that's the way, have you felt?
Well, I worry sometimes that I think people grow and experience and share at different rates, and I think when someone shares something that's been really powerful for them, it can, I think, possibly feel quite intimidating for other people to go, well, I didn't feel that, or I don't feel that, or I'm not worthy of the group because I don't see or hear or feel that. So they can feel less than, which is not ever the intention, and that's obviously their stuff. But you don't want to. You don't want to create an environment where that happens.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, it's a meditation group, but I think the emphasis is as much on the word group as it is on meditation.
Yeah.
Because meditations are really powerful, and it's a bit like when I do a treatment. The treatment is powerful, but there is as many shifts and validity within the talk.
Yeah.
That for me, the shift can occur prior to a treatment by just acknowledging or being vulnerable and open. And I think within the group, when people go, oh, this was what I got, it will, like the quotes I was saying earlier, it allows people to go, I hadn't realised that's what I'd felt, or to connect to that. It's so powerful.
I think the main word here, they have to come to it with a positive attitude, that maybe that they're not going to get something every week. Maybe I need to put that out on the post to them all, that it's okay if one person gets a lot and you don't. Or maybe I need to say that at the beginning of the sessions.
And I think it's like not all 10 people can put their hand up.
No.
And if your sharing is every 10th session, and whether it be inner child work or abundance or relationships or the divine feminine, it's going to touch each of us at a different time. We're all in a different stage of a journey.
So
if person A shares on week 1, but person B shares on the 5th one, but I think for me it's ensuring that the group, that you know that you're safe, which is why I wrote that about the group. It's about creating a safe environment for you to explore your own spirituality and sort of humanity, with knowing you're not going to be judged, knowing that, well, they've all shared for weeks 1 to 4. I now want to share now, but I know, because I've witnessed the responses to other people being open and honest and vulnerable, that I can share safely.
Yeah, that's, if they can't do that, then the group's not right. If we lose that touch of they can't explain exactly how they feel, and then somebody judges them, that is also so wrong.
Being, as I said earlier, it's about, in a sort of graphic way, it's like being in the group, everyone has to take their clothes off. Everyone has to be vulnerable. And even if you're not sharing, you have to be prepared to be vulnerable. You can't stand on the sidelines fully clothed without comment or without support and not sharing, because then it creates, we suddenly all become like Eve going, oh, we're naked.
Yeah.
We've either got to all be in the same, we've all got to be in it or not in it.
Or don't come at all.
But that in it isn't every week going, I've had this amazing experience.
And it doesn't
it's being able
happen
to sit
every week,
in
does it?
other people's vulnerability and honour that and hold space
and
for
watch
everyone.
what happens with them, because in their growth, everybody grows, including me. I mean, I won't ever get over that with Bronwyn. You know, the words more than what happened, because I'm lost in that really at the time, because I expect it's still them with me. But when I read it afterwards, the amazing, I've not known her that long, and she's grown from nothing to this in that short time.
Well, it's like opening the door. It was obviously all in her.
Yeah.
Just open up this massive, beautiful gold door, and it's all spilling out, and it's an absolute privilege and honour to see. It's just incredible.
I'm just so excited for her. Because who's she going to become? Maybe she'll go on and run her own group. And that really, I expect, is the ultimate for all of us.
And I don't feel, having witnessed that takes away from my journey. I don't feel challenged by that. I just feel honoured, and then there's a total beauty in that.
Yeah.
Which is what, I know you want the group to be, and that hopefully everyone would feel that.
Yeah.
Rather than going, look at her. There's never been any of that in the group. We've never witnessed that.
Really,
but I wouldn't want people to feel insecure or less than.
She gets it all, and I don't. We've never had that, have we?
No.
And it still hasn't happened.
No. Which I think is what Laura and Casey picked up on.
Yeah.
It's just everyone is very genuine and kind, and we're all naked together. We're all experiencing it together with no judgment.
I think that's a really good point about being all naked together and not looking at each other and judging each other. This is, if only we could see the levels of different. I don't see them. I feel it sometimes. How everybody's on a different. It's not a vibration. It's a different level of where they've come into work on, and everybody. There's not one person I know that hasn't attended that group that hasn't grown. No, they've all grown. Everybody. Maybe they've not thought about their own growth because we're all looking at the other person, aren't we? Like you're looking at Bronwyn, I'm looking at Bronwyn because it's me. But I look back at Jack. Jack used to come and fall asleep every week on a Monday when she used to come here. When she used to sit in Rosie's group, I didn't ever talk to her. I didn't know her. And she used to come sitting here with Charlie and they'd both fall asleep. And that went on for ages and ages. And I don't know when that changed. That she stepped in. Maybe it was when we got the shed. I don't know. All of a sudden, Jack I've always seen her as that light being, but all of a sudden she's this bigger light being. And look how gradual, that's 10 years. That's been really gradual. Maybe for her, she doesn't even see that because we don't look at that ourselves, do we? That we've grown in.
Well, I can see it. I used to cry all the time. I was pocket tissues lady. But I can definitely see there's growth now. Don't often cry.
Oh, God, we've got another one now. I've got crying Kate, now I've got this one.
And I do remember feeling, I don't hear that. I don't, gosh, and I do remember feeling not less than, but more amateur.
Yeah,
compared to others.
Yeah, that's probably.
So I didn't feel there was judgment. I didn't sort of beat myself up. There was a bit of, it'd be really nice if, oh no, just little old me, just sitting here, just listening. But that has, again, really gradual. Just that trust that what you're hearing is.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, it's like the message I got the other day when we were at Nola's. We didn't ask permission. And I'm thinking, have I just thought that? Going, no, I really did hear that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't you weren't listening. It wasn't like this tannoy. It was just a voice.
It's so subtle.
And maybe it is.
And I didn't ask.
No.
Why didn't I ask? I mean, I'm
supposed to
bloody know this stuff, and I'm just as bad.
But maybe it's not. I'm trying to think. Is it? Okay, I've got a violin. It's not necessarily fine tuning the strings. The strings are already tuned, but it's finding the bow in which to play it.
Yeah.
So we all have the ability to do it.
It's just finding the right
instrument to make it play.
Yeah. So. I've been absolutely fascinated what happened there at Nola's. It has really not played on my mind so much, but that was intriguing. Because we were both looking forward to that, wasn't we?
So I'm just going to say for people who haven't heard the story, so we went to Nola's, who is a sound healer, and I set up the iPad and I set up the phone to record, and Nola did an amazing, it worked out that she did a healing on me, and you were witnessing how my aura changed and how my energy changed. So it was really interesting. And then it managed to skip off the recording and not record. And then I started recording again and it skipped off. And when I went to the iPad, it had stopped recording. And in fact, it's my iPad, but my daughter uses it. She said, "Oh, Mummy, sometimes there isn't enough space," which is obviously technically what had happened.
Yeah.
But it was, there are 3 different ways we've tried to record this and it's not worked. And so when I went to the car to get lunch, I'm going, "Oh, why did that happen?" And I got, "You didn't ask permission." So we had spent there an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we got, apart from a wonderful individual experience, we had nothing to share.
It should have happened here. Maybe we don't need to ask permission in here. That was really interesting, wasn't it? My ear.
They're still tugging.
Oh,
is that if
burning?
So is that someone individual? So if Jesus does your hair,
somebody doing that now. I've asked, is the ear spirit again? Yeah. I've run out of names.
It's obviously someone new because you've never had it before. Okay, so what cards have you got?
Is it Sandalwood? Is this somebody new with me? Oh, it is. It's somebody new. Is it Lord Kasumi? El Maria. It's El Maria.
Who is El Maria?
El Maria is he's the one that Hilary said to me, "Oh, when he turns up, he's going to want me to do something."
Has he turned up with you before then?
I think funny enough, I listened to an old CD. This lady's in spirit now. Her name was Amuna. And we went to do a past life thing, a few of us. And we all walked through the door and she went, "Okay, who's the medium?"
I went,
"Oh, that's me." She went, "What are you doing here? This is not going to work for you." And it did a little bit work for me, but we really had to talk to everybody to stand back. And I listened to the CD and she talks about El Maria on there. El Maria's about new beginnings. That's what I've just heard. So,
is that this is Archangel,
it is. An
Spirit, Ascended Master?
An Ascended Master. I probably got information on that CD about him. But that's what Hilary said to me. She said, "Oh, when he turns up." Because I explained what he looked like. And she went, "Oh, that's El Maria."
And what does he look like?
He looks very, no, I don't know if it's Arab. He wears a turban. I said, I've got somebody here, he's got a white turban on. And she said, "Oh, that's," and and he's got dark skin. She said, "Oh yeah, that's El Maria." See down there, the guy with the ensign?
Yeah, the knight.
Yeah,
the
knight.
Oh, no,
Then he decided to walk through the bedroom on a horse with the ensign, a white ensign. And when that came out, I thought about El Maria. And that came out for you today. And that card
for me is valiant courage, take action with passion.
And that night, I was supposed to be having a reading from, it was my night of my birthday, and Hilary was going to give me a reading, but it ended up all about Hilary, because El Maria turned up. But maybe it was a double whammy, maybe it was for me too.
So can you ask him what he wants now?
So, Maria, this is you, pulling my ears. Is there something you wish to share? I think he's got a bit of sense of humour. Let's say it this way. We need to get you off the starting blocks. You've been meaning this means me, I expect. We feel that it is time for you to move on and move up. We are all here waiting patiently to help. So as much as your partner does not think this, she is the one that has to move you on and move you up. We come as a combined effort, and I am the shaker and the mover to move you on. Wow, okay. Here we go then. We speak to you of new beginnings all the time, and we have moved you as far as looking to the outside world for your meditations and not keeping them so limited to the people that you know. Great work has happened in that direction, but there are more people to meet, there are people to help, and it cannot be confined to these four walls. So I think, my dear one, that the courage is for both of you. He's talking about a race. He's showing me in athletics. So, okay, you're on the right track. We just need to speed it up a bit. A bit old for that. Start running faster. Help us. I jest. This is to make you smile, to not take it so seriously, to have fun with it. The new beginnings can mean lots of things. I just wish you to open your heart to the new beginnings, to new things, to new ways of doing things, to be open-minded and accepting that actually you can do it. With our help, you can do anything. We know that you worry that we set you up for a fall, but you do not have to fall. There is too much support. You have to become the face of things to change. Archangel Michael has handed you his sword in the female version today, and we wish for you to pick this sword up, to cut away the dross, and to be the person that you came here to be, to make a difference. You are so very loved and needed at this moment, and the words will come through your friend that sits here with you. She will help you to make the difference, to grow in strength, to show people that they can be strong. And you need to do it in a light-hearted way. I'm just going to ask him if it's the meditation. Are you talking meditation? Okay. So are you asking me to make this circle we have a larger circle of more people? Yes, I need you to show more people the ways of spirit, how they can work through them and with them. Please do not be afraid. We have walked this path before you to open the doors, and we do not wish for you to stop now. We would like you to call it the temple path. We would like you to think about this name and what this means to people. This is their inner temple, their temple they can go and be with one, however that looks for them. Maybe you would like to share this and show people that they need to open up their inner temple. As their inner temple, I mean their true being of spirit that resides within each person. You know, my dear ones, it's the love they are afraid of. They are afraid of feeling their own love for each person and for themselves. They think, or maybe they guess, that this is a weakness, Or maybe they think or guess that this is selfish, that they love themselves. At the true basis of all this work, there is only one thing that they need to look at, and that is love. As you know, we have always told you, there is only love. It's the spark of light that you come into the earth plane, and it is love that brings you here. So their temple is where their love resides, and we need you to open that temple. What's standing right in front of me? Ooh. I've got to say this, he's laughing while he's saying this to me. This is no mean feat, and we know it is a rise to every occasion to make this happen. So, okay. One of them, I've got to call one of the meditations the Temple of Love, I expect. That's what he was. Okay.
Is the temple path for the meditation group or for the book?
I think it's both. Do you? I think it's for the group, but also that'll go back. Oh, do you want me to ask? I don't know what I'm talking about now. That's the last.
Because I think they're quite different. I think the book, the one supports the other. And they don't necessarily need to be called the same thing.
Okay. So
if you do the group.
What did he call it?
The temple path.
Can you tell me? Are you still here to start? Whoops. Yeah. Okay. You've just given me the name, the temple path. Is that a meditation group to be called that? And can it be referred to in the book?
But is the book to be called that as well? Is the book to be called the Temple Path?
What the main name?
At the moment, it's the A Life with Spirit.
So
does he want the book to be called the Temple Path?
Do you want the book to be called? Sorry, did you ask me that just now?
Yeah. That's what I thought. Is the book to be called the Temple Path? Right. So it's just the meditation group.
Just the group.
Okay.
So are you happy with what the book's called?
Is it A Life with Spirit?
A Life with Spirit. A Life with Spirit.
A Life with Spirit.
A Life with Spirit. Are you happy with that? Okay. So the temple path. You want me to call the group of people that come to meditate, the temple path.
And the Facebook group?
Oh, what about the Facebook group? How does that work?
Well, presumes if he's around, he wants to be part of that.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to be part of this group then? Do you mean the path? Meditation is the path to love, to self-love. Is that what you want me to call it?
You can ask me every which way.
I can't believe we've got to call it anything. Why do you want me to call it? Anyway. This makes putting me on a pedestal. I don't want it.
Doesn't put you on a pedestal.
So, what did you say? The temple path, was it?
You're being really stubborn.
Oh my God.
Okay. The group.
How do I do that now?
But the group is not just you. What did you say? You are the key and we're the locks. The group is all of us.
Yeah.
So it's not putting you on a pedestal.
No, okay.
You facilitate the group.
But it's making it a name now.
Well, okay, if anything, at the moment it's June's healing group.
Yes.
June's meditation group.
Yeah.
So if anything, that is about you.
That is.
So by Temple Path, it makes it something greater than us.
Yes. I like that better. Yeah.
So it's not putting you on a pedestal. And if anything, if you think about what we've talked about today, and the power of the women and the power of the group and the power of acknowledging anything, a temple is a is a building where a lot of people congregate.
Yeah. That's very Jesus as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah. So it's about all of us.
Yeah.
And I was thinking earlier, we were talking about religion. So you might have 50 people packed in a church, but it's a very individual faith because no one shares. Whereas what's beautiful about our group is, as we've been talking about today, everyone shares, everyone's vulnerable, everyone is holding space, everyone is honouring and respecting everyone's journey and learning and growing from it. So we're all part of it. So we're all each other's teachers.
Yeah, we are.
So yes, you are absolutely facilitating it and channeling it and helping us.
But you're all doing your own work.
Yeah.
So it is all your own temple.
Yeah. But we're also within a temple together.
Yeah,
honouring
I like
our
that
inner
better.
temple.
Yeah, because it all sounded a bit, ooh, here we go. Start naming things.
You're funny.
Well, they know I argue. Resistant. Yeah, it's resistance. I do argue far too much. Are you happy with that now? I get it. I do get it. Okay. I said, have you got any more to say? No, and that's a don't know, isn't it? Any more? Oops. Is this El Maria still? Oh dear.
It did get really hot in the middle of it.
Did it?
Really warm. My whole face was, it's like I was
Look at this hero. It's true. Oh my God. Is there any more? Okay. All I did here again is about being brave. That was at the end then. It's okay to be, and it is okay to be worried about it and not nervous, but to be concerned. And I get, oh my God, it's come far too close. He was there. And I went like, oh. Oh my God.